All right, everybody, welcome back. HSC Podcast 177. Big Box Steve on the mic, Big Smooth, Fresh West. Great weekend coming up here. We're going to be talking about the college football playoff, and then session two, we're talking about the NFL playoff. So, all football tonight. Got some cool blind rankings coming up, and talk a little bit about Cignetti's and his coaching future. So, that's what's ahead of time. First, though, we went to a hockey game recently, and I know Derek, you hadn't been to a hockey game before, at least a Winterhawks game. What did you guys think of hockey as a live event experience? Like, not necessarily the Winterhawks, but going and attending a hockey game. Is that fun?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I actually last night I was just, couldn't find anything on, and then I'm like, oh, here's the Vegas Knights against the Maple Leafs. I'll watch a little bit of that.
Now he's
So I
watching
started
hockey on
watching some
TV.
hockey.
What did you think of the game, Wes?
I liked, I haven't been in like 10 years, so I forgot a lot about, and I only went once. But yeah, I like watching it live. It's harder for me to watch it on TV, but it's fun watching it. I've never seen so many fights. I don't remember it's like they're just fighting to fight.
Yeah, they're junior hockey though, so they're getting after it.
Yeah, it's like they just don't care. Like,
Well, what I liked for a live event was with having my son there was the fact that you get like time in between each intermission. So then you
Yeah,
can go, you can get food and do all this, and they can walk around because sometimes having kids there sitting. When I took him to a baseball game, he just couldn't handle it because it's
right.
just sitting the entire time.
Yeah, you notice there's a lot of kids at the hockey game as well. I noticed that at the Blazer game, the basketball, there wasn't as many kids as there was at the hockey game for sure. It wasn't even close.
Well, it was also
Uh, yeah, go
school
ahead.
night, Steve.
Well, that's true. We'll have to compare it on a weekend to get some real
Mhm.
data on that. So I also, and Wes, when you're talking about watching it live versus on TV, you notice a lot of the stuff you don't see on TV when you're live, right? So they're following the puck on TV, where then you get to see them going at it in the corner and checking each other and where those fights are starting, right?
yeah,
And so
yeah.
that's kind of the cool part. So in honor of that, before we jump into CFP, we're going to do a quick ranking of attending live sporting events, right? So kind of focusing on the big four, but if you think something else is better, let's talk about that. But if you had to rank football, basketball, hockey, baseball, right? One to four, attending the games live, what list are we gonna get going here? So let's
Well,
just start with like a number. Let's start with number one and work our way down this time. We've always gone the other way. So let's identify what's the best of the four and then tell us why.
I mean, it's obvious from what we talk about all the time. It's football. Love watching football live. Um, it's been a few years because prices are ridiculous. But think about that. When we went to the Beastquake game, like how amazing is that? And you still see highlights of that game. And you're like, yeah, we were there when there was an earthquake because it got so loud.
Yeah.
You can't, I mean, it's you watch it on TV and you're like, oh, that was cool. But when you're there and it's like the shaking.
So you got a unique game. It was a playoff game. You had a unique play. You're in a stadium that's loud. Um, what if I'm just watching a regular season game somewhere and a regular season basketball game? So is football because you like it more, or do you think it's more fun to watch?
I think every football game I've gone to I've enjoyed, except the one west where it rained the entire time.
Well,
Yes.
are we talking about the Raider game or the Boise State game?
Oh, the Raider game, because that one was a downpour.
Yeah, it was miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And lately, I mean, I used to go to Raider games when I was a kid. And I went to a few 49er games. 49er games were pretty awesome at Candlestick Park. But the was awesome too because of just the atmosphere. We always have pretty good tickets. And just the way the stadium was, it was just easy to see everything. You weren't like, there wasn't really a bad view. And then the fans were crazy. Uh, Going to see Seahawk games, they're fun, but it's just like, oh, dude, it's so crazy. Like the Beastquake game, yes, that was the best. But it's I'd have to say football's number one too.
Yeah, I can't really argue that point, right? I mean, we do probably enjoy football probably the most of the sport. I know, Derek, you're really into baseball, and I'm in the West basketball, and I'm into basketball and hockey, but football still, I kind of feel like the sport you enjoy may be also the one you like attending the most. But in general, I think a football game though is a little bit more fun of an environment is what you guys are talking about, right? If you put all those things together, it probably is the most fun of those four as far as environment goes. But here's where it gets tough. Like, what's two, three, and four? I mean, because for me, hockey's a number two because of, how much I'm into the game, but also how you get to view it differently than you do some on TV. And then basketball, then baseball because I don't enjoy baseball that much. So mine goes football, hockey, basketball, baseball.
Yeah.
I got baseball at two. I
Yeah,
mean, the thing is with baseball, it's much better live. Plus, every stadium is unique. And that's one of the other cool things about it. You go for basketball and hockey, it's just an arena. All of them are pretty much the same.
right.
Yeah.
Well, they're exactly the same because they're courts and ice,
Right.
right?
And then with baseball, it's like, oh, when I went to the Yankees, it's a Yankee Stadium, right? Or going to Dodger Stadium or City Field or something like that. I mean, it's more about going to the stadium than it is the game. And
Right.
I was like, yeah, on my bucket list, I want to go to Wrigley. I want to go to Fenway.
Yeah.
Well,
You don't
history,
really,
nostalgia, all
yeah.
that stuff. Baseball definitely has that over any other sport, right?
Right. And you're not going to be like, I want to go to the United Center arena in Chicago because you're not even knowing what the name of it is.
Right. I think the other part, just to help people understand what you're saying is the different having a different field versus an arena that can affect the distance of the wall in different spots of the stadium, right? And that affects the game and the home run hitting, things like that. So some people may not understand the difference between, say, a basketball court because the 3-point line is going to be the same distance every time, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, but
kind
like
of
the Green Monster.
right.
Where
So that
else are you
kind
not
of
gonna?
helps your point there of having a different stadium. It affects the game, makes it more interesting. I mean, that's a good argument for two. So, Wes, what are you at here? What are your four?
I, well, I agree with Derek pretty much. Baseball's my second. I went to a lot of baseball games, A's games, Giants games when I was a kid, and even some Mariners games, but it's always in the summer. And the great thing about going to a game in the summer, it's yeah, the stadium, it's the atmosphere, but you're outside, you're in the sun, you're eating hot dogs, it to me it's more laid back. I've never gone to a playoff game, and to me it's just I just like being in the environment. And yeah, the stadiums are different. I always wanted to go to Petco, and I wouldn't mind going to Dodger Stadium. Still haven't been to Dodger Stadium, but I've been to Texas. I've been to a Rangers game and a few other. I think I was at a Kansas City, a Royals game. But yeah, I agree with Derek on that front. I like being there. I like the atmosphere. but it would be interesting to be there for a Mariners like playoff game or a Dodgers playoff game
Yeah.
where
I,
really
I feel like
matters.
anytime we start talking, being at the games for playoff games, like it doesn't matter what sport you're at, like
Yeah.
that's gonna be pretty crazy, right? And pretty fun. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, it's great points about baseball, right? So that's a great argument for baseball. Basketball, like I said, I put 3 and 4, and so we're probably all in there about the same. So our biggest take is hockey and baseball may be the number two. So if you guys have different thoughts on that, throw it in the comments. Love to hear, what people think their top four is, and why we didn't talk about basketball being number two.
And you were saying earlier, I had actually put number two the UFC.
Oh yeah, and then we could start adding more, right? Because I put like college basketball live up there. Because if you ever watched a Sweet 16 game or any tournament game, it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of other ones, but just talking the big four there for a minute. All right, so for all the people, maybe this college football is the best thing to watch, right? And so that's coming up here on Monday. We got the CFP game, Indiana at, or not at really. I mean, it's Indiana and Miami. Wes, you've been kind of riding Miami the whole tournament so far, whole playoffs. So kudos to you for sticking with Miami.
Well, it was the middle of the season. I was at the casino a few times, and I was gonna put money about 2 months ago on them, and the odds weren't. It wasn't that great. It was plus 13, and I just didn't do it, and mainly because of Oregon. I was like, man, I can't put money on Miami over Oregon. Come on, you can't do that. That's kind of like because I really wanted Oregon, but I had a feeling just with Miami's physicality, and you're just seeing it through the playoffs. I mean, they the way that they can run the ball with they got two running backs that run with power and and physical the line on both sides is physical. Um, I'm not surprised they're there, but it's going to be interesting to see how they can handle Indiana's front seven.
Yeah, I think so. As you kind of break this game down, I think you hit a couple important points there is that Miami has the athletes, has the players at all the positions to compete with anybody, really, but definitely Indiana. And will they be able to play a complete game at all those positions? Because Indiana is going to be incredibly disciplined, on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, and I think where Oregon and Alabama really made a mistake, especially Alabama, is you can't play these tight formations against them. Their front seven's too good. They get after you. You're going to have to spread them out. And Miami can do that. And if you watch the first, especially the Mississippi game, they really spread Mississippi out and they throw the wide receivers, not the bubble screens, but they throw the wide receiver screens a lot just to keep them going this way. And then they'll take Fletcher and Brown and run right up the middle. And it's hard to stop. And that's the way you're get your only hope to me against Indiana is spreading them out. And then maybe you can get Malachi, on like on a big play, like maybe break a big play and get a big chunk, get some chunk plays or a touchdown.
Well, Tony is going to he's got to be an X factor, right, for the game in general.
Yeah,
Because, and here's my thought as a coach, right? I love Malachi Tony as an X factor and put him in all those different positions. But the way I would use him as a decoy, right? I would make Indiana's defense react to him and
hmm
use that against them, right? Because those plays are coming. They've been doing it all year with Malachi Tony, right?
yeah.
So use that as a decoy, and then of a over pursuing Indiana team, and try to take advantage of that. So as far as Miami's chances here, Derek, why don't you lead us off with this? what's Miami's game plan, or what do you think their chances are of beating Indiana? Derek says zero.
Well, I mean, if you watched both, the Miami Mississippi game, Oregon Indiana game, Miami should have won that by a lot, but they kept making mistakes and kept Mississippi in it. Here's the thing about Indiana, they don't make mistakes. So you can't make mistakes against Indiana because Indiana will make you pay. And what do we got? Carson Beck or Mendoza? Who's going to make more mistakes?
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. I mean, Mendoza has more touchdowns than incompletions this playoffs.
Okay, so let's say if you were Miami though, what's your game plan then? Given that you kind of don't think they have much of a chance, what do they have to do to win then?
They can't be kicking field goals. They have to have touchdowns, and they need to run the ball well.
Yeah. How
And
about on defense? Because you're gonna have a pretty powerful Indiana offense coming at you.
Right. Well, you just can't give up the big play. Can't let Indiana get the big play on you. Like Surratt and Cooper, you can't let them get free.
yeah.
And you gotta get pressure on Mendoza. You can't let him sit in the pocket.
And yeah, Ruben Bain and Messidor, they got to get to, and not just pressure. They're going to have to get to him, and I think they can. I think early they can. I think you can, maybe you can make. I mean, how much pressure has Mendoza even been under in the playoffs or lately? If you can get, I mean, I think it's probably been the Penn State game, and that was quite that was a while ago. If you can maybe get to them a few times early in the game, you could slow them down, and then you're gonna have to kind of play that ball control more or less just to wear down that Indiana defense. But I still think you need big plays. And Carson Beck, he is known for making mistakes. And if Indiana kind of drops and says, "Okay, we'll let you dink and dunk. Go ahead and dink and dunk. We're going to pick you off." And that's the danger here. It's like they get kind of stagnant and a little conservative in their passing game in the playoff games. You dink and dunk against the defense, they're going to pick you off. And so, yes, the probability of error is a lot greater with Carson Beck than Mendoza. So Carson Beck can't make mistakes.
Yeah, well, I mean, Mendoza's Heisman Trophy winner. He's had a great season. Carson Beck statistically looks like, he's a good quarterback. You watch games throughout the year, he makes you question it sometimes. Sometimes he plays well. Um, Talking about their perfect game, though, it's like that's Miami has to play within themselves, right? They can compete with Indiana. But if they start making like defensively like hero plays, right? If they're trying to make the sack every time instead of, playing in there within the game plan of the defense, I think that's what gets Miami in trouble, right?
And Miami's been, okay, if it's not Fletcher, it's Brown, and it has to be that way, and they're both of them are going to have to carry the load, I think, and they're going to have to, you got to run the ball consistently, and you can't give up on it. You can't just start throwing the ball over the place because that's where Carson Beck tends to get in trouble. And he starts throwing picks. Derek's right. It's a wrap. Indiana's just going to make him pay.
Yeah, so
it's going to get out of hand if
right.
that's what happens. Like
If we're talking Indiana's now winning, right? It sounds like, Derek, you're taking Indiana. I'm taking Indiana. Wes, are you taking Indiana or Miami?
Yes, I'm taking Indiana. I really want to take Miami, but that 7.5, I don't see any reason why. I think they cover that, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to get out of hand. To a certain extent, it might. Out of hand to me is 17-point win. because I think Miami's defense can keep them in check. I think they can make them kick field goals, early, and then they could possibly keep up with them. But in the end, I just don't really trust Carson Beck when they start applying pressure to him. It just, his track record. His track record is the track record. He doesn't like pressure, and that's another reason why they're getting the ball out of his hands fast. If you notice that, it's like, and they're smart with the wide receiver screens, but you can only do that. So this isn't Mississippi. This is Indiana's defense. Cignetti's going to adjust to that. And he's game planning for that. Okay, yeah, throw those screens. It's called a 2-yard loss. Another 2-yard loss. We're going to make you throw the ball down the field. We're going to make you throw it into those spots where you're not comfortable throwing.
Right. That's an interesting that you're talking about Miami's going to really have to change their game plan in that. And so you're talking maybe 17 if that's an out of hand game. Points wise, will it be a close game, Derek, or is it going to be more than 17?
It depends because you saw like with what happened with Oregon. Because the thing is, if you make mistakes, Indiana's not going to. Indiana's number one in turnover differential.
Right.
Right, they're a plus 17. Um,
Well, and just look at the Oregon game, right? 3 turnovers, and look what happens.
Yeah, and it just steamrolls. Indiana's got the second best defense in the nation.
Yeah.
No one talks about that.
Yeah.
Because of Mendoza, they're like, oh, the offense is so good, but the defense, and that's where I'm afraid because, history of national championship games, they can get out of hand.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%, right? We've seen enough national championships where Indiana could definitely roll over Miami. I think Indiana's game plan should be pretty simple, right? Like keep it basic, run the ball, make them keep their safeties back by, using those 2 receivers to, press those safeties. And
Yeah.
then they don't have no problems, right?
I think Miami can actually hold down, their offense to a certain extent. But the thing about Mendoza is, and you watch, I mean, yeah, Derek's right. Like how many incompletions he's had in the playoffs. He could throw the ball in any part of the field, 40 yards.
Yeah.
He's strategic in how he throws the ball, and it flies out of his hand at, whether it's 10 yards, 15 yards, left, right, center. He's so good at spreading the field, and he has every option, and he makes really quick decisions, and he processes things so fast that he's going to adjust, and I don't think Miami is going to be able to catch up with him.
Right. Yeah. So I think, although I give Miami credit where credit's due, they can put different kind of pressure on you than most teams Indiana's faced, even up to this point. But Miami has a unique style of pressure defensively they can put on quarterbacks, when their secondary and their linebackers are playing within their defense, I mean. So Mendoza hasn't faced that yet. And so now you say, oh, Miami, do you really put the pressure on or do you sit back? That's going to be a tough decision for Miami to make defensively because that's where it could turn into a 40, 50-point game for Indiana, right? You're pressuring a lot. You're getting those stretch plays. The score starts to go. You have a couple turnovers. Now all of a sudden it's 42-10.
But another thing is if he, Mendoza is not Michael Vick here. That's one of the things that if they can get that middle pressure, or if they can kind of keep them in that, make them uncomfortable, maybe you can get a strip sack or something like that. They're going to need some turnovers, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
They can't just not have turnovers. And in the last game, I mean, how many picks did they drop? Like they had picks, and they're DBs dropping. They could have made plays. They can't do that. If the ball's there, you got to make a play on it, and you got to make it.
Yeah, turnovers are going to be big for Miami, right? They're going to need to get some turnovers and not commit very many.
I will not be shocked if it's close at the very end. I don't think it's going to be that close.
Yeah.
You know, it could be a sloppy game. You never know. And national championship games are weird games. Sometimes you think, oh, this is going to happen. And the pressure, and they said that the average ticket price for this game is $4,300. It's the highest ticket price ever for
Wow.
a world championship game. So this
That's a pretty good amount to
the
go
light
watch a game.
everyone's watching. This is the biggest game Miami's had since the Fiesta Bowl. But honestly, that was the Fiesta Bowl. They weren't playing in their own stadium. Remember all the years that they played national championships in the Orange Bowl? You know, I mean, this is kind of like that type of pressure, and you never
Right.
know. Both these teams could make a lot of mistakes, but in the end, I think Indiana's team is too good to lose this game.
And that's the thing that Indiana doesn't do is make mistakes. And that's because Cignetti is like the biggest red ass there is, and he will not tolerate
Right.
mistakes. And that's why I think it's a difference in coaching. Are you going to trust Cristobal or are you going to trust Cignetti?
No,
Oh,
yeah, we don't. I mean, I don't think. I think Cristobal is going to definitely be overmatched here in this game, coaching wise. I think it's going to come up to the Miami players to win if they're going to win.
what?
Um,
How did Lanning and DeBoer fare against Cignetti? I
right.
mean, just embarrassed them. And you watch you watch the Oregon game when Lanning's coming out of the tunnel versus Cignetti. I just laughed. I was like, Lanning, it's like he's like looking for the camera when he's coming out, you know? And I'm like, dude, Cignetti could care less. And that's the difference between it's not just Lanning. It's a lot of coaches in college football. It's turned in he doesn't care. He's out to prove whatever it is that his style, old school pads, helmets, like physical football reigns. And I
Yeah.
think he gets the players so jacked that, hey, look at our uniforms. Do we have alternative uniforms? They wear the same uniforms every week, and they're ugly. I don't care.
Well,
They
they're
are not.
Indiana. Come on,
They
dude.
are not. They are not attractive
They're-
uniforms. But you know what? I think he likes it even more. He's like, oh,
yeah, you sure he does, dude.
Oregon was
He's an
probably
old school
debating.
coach.
Oregon was probably debating 4 days. Well, should we the yellow on the stripe? Like, and look what happens. They just get jacked. And
So that's a pretty good transition to. So we're all in Indiana, but I think also our kind of outcome there is also probably it's a pretty good win
yeah,
amount by Indiana as well. So, but we're talking Cignetti as a coach, and that's going to matter in this. He's kind of like the big topic right out there right now. Everybody's talking about just his story, where he's at now, obviously in the national championship, and now there's a lot of this. Where is he going to go? What's he going to do? With the rest of his coaching career? Because now everybody wants to know. And I mean, there's out there they're talking about, oh, it's $15 million or whatever to break his contract, and then he could go coach, wherever he wants, maybe NFL.
yeah.
What are the benefits for him, right? I mean, put yourself in his shoes. Do you stick around with Indiana? Like, what's the benefit there? What's the benefit to buying out and going to NFL? What is the best for this guy, for his coaching future?
I've been thinking about this a lot. And
Okay.
at first, I was like, dude, Raiders, bring in Cignetti, put him with Mendoza, let's go. And then I'm like, let's step back here. He's a red ass. He's very particular. I don't think he's like a Nick Saban, an Urban Meyer, ones that it's just college. I don't think he's a pro coach. And I think it's just because he can put what he wants in. He gets his players in there. He doesn't care about this nil stuff. he'll bring in his own guys. I mean, he's brought most of them from James Madison, right? That's the other thing. It's like this team is like an old school March Madness team where it's a bunch of seniors, you know what I mean? And not a bunch of flashy freshmen or junior or sophomores.
Yeah.
I don't see him as a NFL coach because, like Wes said, NFL, they're going to be wanting to know like how flashy, how nice I'm going to look and everything. And he's not about that. I don't think he'll get along with NFL players.
And also that nails it right there for me is like, look at, you know how much you are in the spotlight as an NFL coach. I don't think he likes that. I think he doesn't want to sit there and have to answer questions like almost every day. As a coach, you almost have to. You're on first take almost every other day, if it's not every day. I mean, you're the freaking Cowboys coach. You're on all the time, or you're Dak. It's like I don't think he likes that, And he can't really pull a Belichick. Like Belichick, the media just got tired of him. It was like, no, we're not even going to ask him questions. We're not going to put him on TV. He's such an a-hole.
On to Cleveland.
Right, right. Cignetti could do that, I guess, but it's like when he says Google me, I mean that's I win Google me.
Right.
That only works so long. And when you're an NFL coach, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
And I don't think he wants to be, honestly, I think he'd consider it being harassed by the media. And then the expectations, of course, it would be the Raiders because it's Mendoza. If you get Mendoza, you bring in Cignetti, then I think he's like, I want complete control. Why wouldn't he want complete? The Raiders are a dumpster fire. And Mark Davis, like, hey, you know what? You don't know anything about football. Your dad did. Your dad knew everything about football, but you don't. So I'm just taking over. And that's nice, Tom Brady. I know you won 7 Super Bowls, but you know what?
Google me.
Google me. Yes.
Well, what about there's a couple things, the questions I have for him, right? Then, like, nobody or most people don't want to be a college coach and have that be the top of their trophies, right? Almost every coach ever
Mhm.
looks at the NFL and winning the NFL championship as their mountaintop,
Mhm.
right? So obviously Cignetti has that, right? If he goes to the NFL, who says he can't get there, right? But if he stays in college, maybe a few more years and then goes to the NFL, that could be better for him. Or maybe he never goes to the NFL. I mean, when you think about that as a coach, you don't want to just stay in college, though, do you?
I mean, maybe he looks at Saban and, saw what had happened to him and saw what happened to Urban Meyer. And the thing is he'd have to go to like a team that was young, had no veteran leadership, and was something he can mold. Because he can't go into like the Steelers locker room right now and deal with
Right,
Aaron
right, right.
Rodgers.
So for people listening, you're talking about the veterans aren't going to change the way they're doing things because they get a new fancy rookie head coach,
Yeah.
right?
And that's because
Because this
that's what
is the
happened to
NFL, it's
Saban.
not college.
That's what happened to Saban with the Dolphins. They like wouldn't listen to him.
No, you remember the pictures? They always show this, like the picture where Saban and Belichick were at the Browns. It's just hideous. Like they were so bad. It's just like it's unbelievable what Belichick did. Just post Browns. But the thing, if he was gonna do it, why wouldn't you do with Mendoza? Because Mendoza already understands the culture. He's your quarterback. He's your future. You're going to bring in a veteran to start to a certain extent so many games. But if you were going to do it, you got a young team. You have the best tight end in football. You're going to have a running back that potentially could be a star-ish type running back. He's going to be good. We know that. you need a lot of help so he can work with the player personnel aspect of getting the players to actually be able to compete. If you wanted to do it, I would almost do it now. You wait, you might
Right.
not have
You
the
never know. You never know what happens if you wait too long in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the thing, Derek, you said this earlier, and I was thinking about this, is he is like that. They are Indiana right now is like that basketball team that their seniors have come to age and
Mm-hmm.
now they're winning a national championship, but they're going to be moving on, right? And it's great having Cignetti. It's great winning a national championship, but will Indiana really right away out recruit your Ohio States and your Alabamas and things like that, right? No, of course not. So
They're already, yeah.
yeah, now you look maybe 3 years down the road. If he doesn't get good recruits, things don't go a little bit sideways. He may not have the greatest record. They still won't be a bad team. He'll never have a bad team, right? But they probably may not be competing for national championships again.
He might not never get back.
Right.
The only thing with the like Wes saying about the Raiders, they're not looking for someone to come in as a coach to run and bring in. They've got Spytek, then Brady. They're going to be the ones from player personnel. So if Cignetti wants that, he's not going to get it with the Raiders because they went down that road with McDaniel. They went down that road with John Gruden. Pete Carroll, like, didn't play the rookies. They're not going to go down that road again. They're going to want to be like, no, we're going to have a GM who does his thing, and then we'll have a coach who does their thing.
Well, you're right. They're gonna make the final decisions. What I'm saying is he's gonna bring in the culture, and he will be like a consultant. Like, hey, like what? Okay, basically the same 20 teams the last 10 years suck. Okay, do you want to be like that? We need to do things differently here. It's he will have a say. But yes, they have the final decision when it comes to, but you got to do something different. I mean, you suck for
Yeah.
20 years. Okay.
Well,
Like,
so let's just talk Cignetti for a second because we'll finish this topic here, but it sounds like at first, anyway, you guys were both saying Cignetti should stay, right? He's not an NFL coach. His best path right now is through college or stay in college. I'm not sure. I would probably lean with you to stay in college unless there was the perfect situation in the NFL, maybe make the jump. But those are kind of our wraps there on Cignetti coachings. Any last thoughts there?
Well, I don't see a team for Cignetti to want to go to like, because you look at the Ravens is a great job, but that's a bunch of veterans. Steelers, same thing, ton of veterans. I don't think you don't want to be the Titans coach.
no.
I mean, yeah, the Giants maybe got Harbaugh. He still hasn't completely signed yet.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'm sick. He's the king of Indiana.
Yes.
Bobby Knight never left college.
Right.
So
I think there's some kind of different rules in the NBA about throwing chairs at your players, and he didn't like that.
And did you see that they in the portal, Indiana got Hoover from Texas Christian?
No,
no.
oh yeah,
Hoover
Hoover's solid.
Hoover's good. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be mad at that if I'm Cignetti.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll see what his future brings. If there's any thoughts on that, yeah, again, jump in the comments. Like, is Cignetti staying? Is he going? What does Indiana look like in a few years? But yeah, we wrap CFP there and stay with us. We'll be right back with the NFL update.